I feel like we've done this before. I feel like we've done this before. Reboot from Asteroid G. You're listening to Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me, as always, is...
Snake.
Snake what?
Plissken.
I thought you were going to be like Snake Schaefer.
No, I was actually thinking about that, but then I thought SS would be the initials, and I want to distance myself from anything.
It's technically his name is SD Plissken, so you would just be Snake D Schaefer, and that'd be okay. Yeah,
it could be SJS. You could have gone with that too.
Yeah, and then at the end of the thing, you could have been like, with me as Snake, and you'd be like, call me Josh. So you missed your opportunity right there. I'm so sorry.
Damn it.
Yep.
And Queen Bee.
There we go. And if you couldn't tell at this point, we're discussing the Escape from New York movies. We're actually going to do a Hollywood reboot of it this time because, let's be frank, there's not that much to overview with the Escape from movies because there's one good one bad one, and two tangentially related films that most of the time no one wants to talk about. So,
yeah, which includes this one too, because I don't want to talk about the other two.
Escape from LA blows. Oh my god, that movie is so painful. Ghosts of Mars, which was originally Escape from Mars, is a truly wretched film. And the only other movie even halfway related to the original Escape from New York I like is Lockout, which isn't even an official movie in the series.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh? No, Lockout was done by a different production company, and the only reason why John Carpenter owns any rights to it is because he sued for plagiarism in France.
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it is basically an Escape from movie, just with... I mean, we're getting off track. Anyway, Escape from New York, for those that are unaware, so we'll catch you up to speed, is a sci-fi, I would almost call it a post-apocalyptic kind of movie, even though, like, we never see the apocalypse and civilization is still kind of going, sort of. But it's about a movie where New York, Manhattan Island, back when Manhattan Island was not, a lovely, rich person oasis, was such a hellhole that they sealed it off all around with a giant wall and turned it into a prison where people go in and they don't come out. That is the setup, and then the President of the United States, played by Donald Pleasance, has to eject from Air Force One after it's taken over by terrorists and ends up landing his escape pod in the middle of New York prison and has to be rescued. So, to rescue him, they send in one man, Kurt Russell's absolutely fantastic Snake Plissken, who goes in and does the mission no one else can do and saves the president. But he's also a snarling, evil, not very talkative badass, and it's a role perfect for Kurt Russell. Yeah. And really only needed one movie, as the second movie proves.
Yeah. Well, surfing Kurt Russell isn't a good look.
No, there's so much about that second movie that is not a good look.
Like, I remember when I was a kid, I was super excited to see it, and I saw the first trailer, and I had to have been in grade school when it came out. I can't remember exactly when it came out, but I remember thinking, like, as clear as now, like, what the fuck?
That's...
when they showed, because they had the surfboard scene in the trailer, and I was like, this looks awful.
Yeah.
Watch Ghostbusters 2 again.
It's interesting when, as a kid, you have that moment where you realize you actually have a critical eye. You had it for Escape from LA right there. I had it for The Neverending Story 2, which was a wretched piece of shit.
Oh,
that is the first movie when I was like 7 or 8, and I can remember going, God, this movie was awful. Why did we see this?
Yeah, I remember that about Neverending Story 2 as well. Because I loved the first one.
Can we go back to the scene of the kid losing his horse in a swamp? That was more entertaining at this point. Come on.
Right?
So
with that stupid bird thing.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Escape from New York. I am curious to see what people come up with for the idea of rebooting it. Now, to be fair, there have been a couple attempts at rebooting this movie in the past. I think at one point, Kurt Russell and John Carpenter were executive producing a Escape from New York TV show that never got off the ground. Got mired in, like, production issues. And then more recently, there was an attempt to make a new movie out of it back in, like, 2010 or 2015 that had the...
had Robert Rodriguez on it.
Attached as director. And I think at one point, the dude from, like, the... Angel is Down, White House Down films, whatever his name is, that big gruff guy that can't act.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, him.
Channing Tatum.
No, that was the. Oh, I'm sorry. Angel has fallen. No, it's Angel has fallen. Liberty has fallen. Those are the ones, not White House Down.
Oh, okay.
Liberty has
I was
fallen.
about to say, I was like, I will die for Channing Tatum
No,
today.
his version of that movie was great. That was a very good Die Hard ripoff.
Yeah, I
which
love
need
that
to review.
movie.
Yeah, no, that one's fantastic. It was the other one that came out at the same time. The Liberty has fallen or whatever it's called.
Gerard Butler, the Gerard Butler one.
Thank you.
It's Angel has fallen. That one.
Yeah, it's Olympus has fallen, London has fallen, and Angel has fallen.
Thank you. And they're awful. They're trash.
Yeah,
they are. But I still love Gerard Butler. So, and I was actually going to say, yes, I do. I'm a big fan.
Really?
I do. I'm a big fan.
I feel like we can't move off this point. Pete, come on.
It's 2020. There's far worse fans of people.
I mean, I'm not going to fanboy over the man, but I do like him. So, deal with it, man.
Okay.
He comes from a long line of butlers.
Does he?
Did they?
Yeah.
Did they buttle?
They buttled.
Anyway, so Escape from New York. Ignoring those attempts at rebooting it, unless you really do want to use Gerard Butler in there, so he can go, "This is New York," and kick someone in a pit. I
mean, that would be my suggestion, or Tom Hardy.
If we're just going straight on casting, Tom Hardy is actually not a bad call. He proved that he can do stuff like that with the Mad Max reboot, Fury Road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gruff, not a lot of lines. Because I think that's the thing that separates Escape from New York and Lockout, is that while the basic construction of the two movies is similar, they don't feel like the same movie because the character that Guy Pearce plays in Lockout, Snow, is super chatty and sarcastic the whole time. Whatever parallels you want to set up for those movies, they feel substantially different because of that character.
Facts.
So, what kind of, whoever we want to recast in there, whatever you want to do, what kind of reboot do you have for it? Josh, do you have an idea?
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly, I know I usually tend to like to do the remakes in the vein of 21 Jump Street and make it comedic.
I think that could work,
but I don't know if it could work, though. That's what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, okay, and not to interrupt you again, but I'm interrupting you again. To be fair, the Escape from LA was funnier and did not work.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah.
Okay.
But I kind of see it as kind of a Judge Dredd remake. Dredd.
Yeah.
More so. So, obviously Carl Urban would be Snake.
Oh, that would be good. He'd be so good in that role.
Yeah, Carl Urban would be great.
Oh,
I agree.
Shit.
Yeah, just Carl Urban wasting fools. And, I don't know, I don't know who would be I'm trying to think of a good Adrienne Barbeau character to play opposite of him. Yeah.
Yeah, because you want she was actually about the right age to play opposite Kurt Russell, unlike how Hollywood usually does it, which is pairs up a love interest that's 20 years younger and you're just supposed to believe it. Like, for instance, Lockout.
Yeah.
That's a bit. Hey, you know what? Since we talked about her last time, if you want to pair up someone with Carl Urban who seems in the right range, Elizabeth Shue.
You know what? I will give that. I like that one.
That's a good suggestion for you right there.
Yeah.
Let's doing the callback for you there, Josh.
I like that. And I don't know, I don't know if it's because you were talking about the Fallen movies, but the only person I can think of to play the president now in my head is Morgan Freeman.
I mean, I'm okay with that. Aaron Eckhart was the other one.
He really should always play a president going forward. Hasn't he played president a couple of times?
Or God.
Yeah.
Or God, right.
But
so what's the plot of yours? Are you just going to mirror the original plot, or so?
I think it needs a little bit more, because all of John Carpenter's films are at least partially not tongue in cheek, subtly, I guess is a better word, subtly political.
Not Halloween.
Halloween is totally a look at the flawed resources for mentally unstable people.
Halloween is also, in many respects, an answer to the burgeoning slasher genre that was coming out, like Black Christmas, for example, but de-emphasizing the kills and emphasizing terror instead, which is, in my opinion, why it's actually the best slasher film around. It holds up even now. What we're getting on, like, towards 40 years later now, towards 50 years later, like, it still holds up really well because it focuses on the actual horror of a horror movie as opposed to just the gore and kills.
Yeah, which also makes Jamie Lee Curtis about the right age to play the cabbie in Escape from New York.
There you go. Hey, why not? Just bring her back in for this.
But
so do you have more of a plot, or is it just going to be still go in there, save the president, get whatever cold fusion plans he's going for, and then get back out? Is that your story?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd have to take the parts out with the World Trade Center out, so...
Yeah, it'd be a different building, other building they land on, yeah.
But I can't really think of something that would be less or more relevant, because this movie's still relevant as far as like what I was trying to talk with politically. Yeah. And if nothing, it's more relevant now.
Well, and that was something that I noticed with Escape from LA, too. While the entirety of the movie, like the whole 3 acts is really stupid, the first 10 minutes... where the U.S. government is taken over by a super right-wing extremist conservative who, like stokes fear and starts, like, sending all the quote-unquote bad people off to an island off the coast of California, which is, the liberal paradise and is now a hellhole. That felt really prescient in today's times, even if the rest of the movie doesn't at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's... And then I can also see the right turning New York, which is quote unquote a liberal bastion to people in the right, into a prison. So, like, I don't know, it kind of resonates a little bit differently now. Just like we recently watched They Live, another John Carpenter movie, and it's even more relevant now, I think, too. So it's just kind of weird how...
For a while there, he had a very keen political eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. B.
So.
Okay, you ready?
Sure.
You're gonna love this. I have three options.
Oh my god. Okay, go.
Okay, so your first option is taking it a little bit tongue-in-cheek and utilizing Macaulay Culkin as Snake.
Interesting.
Right?
I mean, he kind of looks like Snake now.
Right?
He's a bit grizzled.
Because he had that whole Home Alone franchise, you could use characters from that to play the key characters in Escape from LA or Escape from New York, however you do it.
Adrian Barbeau's character, played by Joe Pesci.
Good. Catherine O'Hara is still alive. But anyway, Joe Pesci could be the taxi.
He'd be a great cabbie, okay?
Yeah.
Let's see. Angela Goethals, who played his sister, could be the Angela Barbeau character because I think she's still hot. Anyway, so you have that kind of idea.
He runs around New York setting up traps for the guys that are aligned with the Duke.
Exactly. Okay. That's what I'm saying. you could totally see that happening. And then, because, we like to go... what if we did a current character who wasn't white, and we like to unwhitewash films for reboots? I would say Idris Elba.
Oh, yeah.
As Snake. He would be amazing. The Adrian Barbeau character, I would go with someone like maybe who is what's her name from Watchmen, who played Nun.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I'm terrible with names.
But I think the actress who played Sister Nun, I think she would be amazing as Sister Knight would be amazing as the female Regina King. She would be great for the Adrian Barbeau character.
Can I make a suggestion on this that's going to be a little weird, but maybe might work? Make her Snake Plissken.
Well, hold on. There's the third one. Okay. Hold on. I got this covered up.
Okay.
So this is the second one. This is just, unwhitewashing the entire
just changing the cast.
Yeah. And then obviously you could have the president still be Freeman, and you could have the cabbie who would be maybe someone else of color, Chinese female. It doesn't matter. Pick an actor who you think would be great. Let's see, one of the Aquafina. I think she would make a great Cabby.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you could bring that in as the new reboot cast. Now, my third option, because you know how we like to unwhitewash things and make it relevant for women, bring in a whole woman cast entirely. You have the Regina King could be the Snake character, or Taj, what's her name?
Taraji P. Henson.
Yes, because we love her in anything she's in.
Make her the Duchess. I'd buy that.
Make her the Duchess. Okay. Yeah. And not to keep white people out, you can have some white actresses. I think Emma Stone would be a great Cabby. Or you can make her the Barboa character, the sexual, something. Bring her in, because that would also bring in some of the fun. Make it just an all-woman cast. All colors, bring in everybody. So those are my three options for a reboot.
I don't know why, but when you were saying the love interest, the only thing I could think of was Channing Tatum's character from This Is the End.
All in leather, like the assless chaps.
Yeah. Here's a fourth option. You can still have a man in the part. Who played? We did The Wire. We did one recently on The Wire, and the character who plays Omar, he would be a really good Snake character. I think he could pull that off. And although I don't think he's actually gay, but he plays a really good gay, you can bring in someone else who is gay, maybe a Channing Tatum, and do it that way.
Michael K. Williams.
Michael K. Yeah, I was about to say, it's Michael K. Williams. And he...
So, to a gay version, I think that would be amazing, and it would be primed for gay porn. I'm just saying.
If you've seen the way some of the characters dress in the original Escape from New York with their weird gangland outfits, it feels kind of gay.
It's not a stretch.
No, it's not a big stretch. It's like an all Vegas review of Escape from New York. I could see that.
So those are my options of a reboot.
Josh,
also, I forgot to mention that with every reboot needs a good Tom Cruise and Peter Dinklage.
I know.
So
I was waiting for you to make that reference.
Oh, well, you could always have Peter Dinklage be the Snake character.
Dude, I'm telling you, he could kick ass in any action role.
It would be fantastic. It'd be absolutely fantastic. So,
and I already know what he looks like with the scar and an eye patch. So
you do. It's true. It's absolutely true. So my thought, and this was inspired by what you were talking about with Dredd, Josh. Instead of making the entire island of New York be the prison, we just make Trump Tower in the middle of Manhattan be the prison. We just, blow up the blocks around it, create a giant moat. Whoever plays Snake Plissken, which I'm perfectly okay with Idris Elba or Macaulay Culkin. I think those are both inspired choices. Have him have to land on top of the building and, in a reverse Dredd, fight his way down through all the various warrior-style gangs to get to the bottom of the the deep sub basement where he comes across the Duke and then has to fight with the president in tow all the way back up the building to get to his flyer and fly out.
I like it.
Yeah. Plus, then it's politically prescient, and it feels like the one hellhole we need to get rid of in New York, gets blown
right?
up. Yeah. Great.
9 out of 10.
Thank you for that inspiration right there. I rather liked that one.
Okay, do you have any others? Because you were thinking of this before he said his thing. So what others do you have?
That is the problem. Most of the ones that I come up with beyond that feel like they need to be really different, substantially different. So you're like a prison out in the middle of the ocean, which Marvel kind of already did with their Avengers movies, or a prison off in space, which is either Lockout or even the original setup for Ghosts of Mars.
I was going to say, Ghosts of Mars.
Yeah, so terrible. Yeah, no. I mean, it's very hard to come up with one that feels substantially different enough that you're, actually doing a proper reboot. Because the one thing that, as Josh mentioned, is the fact that the first movie, despite being set in 1997, quote-unquote, which, we missed by a long shot at this point, still feels like it holds up really solidly. We may have missed the mark on it by 22 years at this point, 21 years, 24 years. Math is bad. Hard to do on a podcast. But it's it still holds up story-wise and still feels like politically, and the cold fusion plotline and everything else still works really well. It's just, you'd basically just have to go in there and digitally edit the year and have it say like 2055 or something. And that's really the only change I'd have to make, because the rest of the movie on its own works really nicely. So rebooting it is honestly, I'm glad you guys came up with ideas that worked, because rebooting it on its own is really hard. Short of actually not being in the future and having it just be like a normal prison out in like the middle of the Midwest, I'm not sure what you do. And then at that point, does it really feel like an escape movie anymore?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this definitely feels like one where it's more like you just have to reboot it, like cast-wise. Keep the script more or less the same, reboot it cast-wise, and then let the chemistry of the cast and the way they deliver lines and improv their own lines carry the film. Like, a good actor who can actually, like, improv well without going too far off book and being really dumb about it. So, don't use Ben Affleck. They could probably take the original script and do their own interpretation of it and find a new way to do it when the only thing you have to do is change the year that the movie is set in. Like, yeah. If we already had cold fusion, or if the world was in a different place politically, this movie wouldn't hold up the way it does.
Yeah. I mean, I think the cold fusion thing was kind of goofy, so like you'd have to change that to something else.
I don't know, they're still working on it.
No, yeah, that's true.
Scientifically, they are still working on it, and like they get like infinitesimally closer every year. I think I read earlier this year the scientists out in China actually had a stable cold fusion reaction for a couple minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, not on a scale you could actually use it to power anything, but on a very tiny scale, they managed to get a stable cold fusion thing for a few minutes. And then they had to put it up. Yeah, that's still gigantic. So, like, the secret of cold fusion, even now, holds up now. At the rate that it's going, it could be that 20 years from now, we could watch a reboot here that has cold fusion in it, and everyone's like, that's so goofy, why would they need that? We already have that. So, in that regard, yeah.
But and I always thought that his the blood bomb thing or whatever it was called,
in his veins.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of goofy too.
That's why I liked it in the second. Like, one of the few things I liked about the second one, where there wasn't any like device or whatever. Like, they said he was infected with a virus, but it was really just the flu, and they laughed about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but by that measure, Lockout didn't even have that. So, and it's better for it, because he's just motivated by the plot line instead of just his own selfish need,
Yeah, and that would, honestly, in retrospect, I think that would be the one thing I change about the remake. Would he could still be a terrible person or what have you, or an anti-hero, but make him a little bit more like, yeah, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think at that point, then you have to change the character, because it can't just be the president. It would almost be better if it was, or if it is the president in that regard, it would almost be better if it was someone he actually had a personal connection to in his past. So he's not like a friend of his. So he's not just going in there to rescue some nameless person that doesn't matter to him at all because he doesn't care about it. He's like, I don't agree with you politically, but you saved my life back in Vietnam 3,
Yeah. Yeah, like, you were my unit commander, and you could have left me for dead.
Yeah,
that's the only line you need, and it fixes the entire issue.
Yeah. And then they can turn out to be a shit, and he decides to kill the person at the end and blow up the cold fusion secret when he blows up Trump Tower, and it's fine,
Yeah.
Because
you can even have like a cheesy dialogue line that's like, "I already gave you one chance, you blew it," and then blow up.
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, as he walks slowly away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette.
Uh-huh. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Smoking is so bad for you.
Actually, it's
a vape cloud.
It's a tiny cold fusion device, so he runs off, gets to a different floor as it explodes and shakes the building, and then he goes back down to investigate and lights his cigarette on the smoldering corpse.
Yeah. Honestly, like, another thing that I would probably do in a remake is have him like self-sacrifice and maybe die at the end to save everyone else.
I mean, they almost did that in Lockout.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that moment of self-sacrifice definitely makes them more of a hero. Shows character growth. Because, I mean, that's one of the big issues with Snake, is that he doesn't evolve at all over his 2 films.
No. Because even and I know it's not the same movie, but in my head I keep comparing it to Dredd.
That's fair. Post-apocalyptic, gruff anti-hero, And
I felt like Dredd had some brief moments of character development for just wasting fools.
It's interesting when you talk about Dredd, because his character stays the same throughout the film, like his own worldview. But Dredd's perspective on the officer he's paired with is where he gets character growth, because he would have easily failed her, but due to her actions and the way that she proved herself to him as a person, he lets her slide and become a judge. And that's something he wouldn't have done. So it's like character growth forced on him by the other character, which is usually the opposite way around in movies. It's the gruff male hero forces everyone around him to grow, but the female character in that movie actually forces the gruff male hero to grow. So kind of a little bit of a reverse there, and I liked that about that film.
Yeah. Dredd was such a good movie, and needs a sequel.
It really does. Man. Carl Urban's still pushing for it.
Carl Urban is a fucking saint.
He really is. I like him a lot.
Like, I don't like to, be outspoken about a lot of things, but that is one thing you can put on my tombstone.
Carl Urban.
Schaefer really liked Carl Urban and thought he was a saint.
Good to know. I'll make sure we do that.
Thanks.
Joseph's gonna be like, "Why is this on your tombstone?"
Well, originally, that's probably better, because I told her before that I wanted my body bronzed and dressed like a Hawkman and put in the playground. So.
Wow, that's super creepy, dude.
Especially because you'll probably be old and wrinkly at that point. It's going to be the ugliest Hawkman.
I mean, I'm already pretty paunchy, so I'm hoping the bronzing process melts some of that away.
Oh my god, that's so gross.
Or bronze my bones. That'd be
bronze your bone, and then put the Hawkman costume on.
Yeah, and I could be like Blackest Night or Darkest Night, whatever.
Blackest Night, yeah.
Yeah, or mummify me and bury me halfway at the foot of or base of a slide. That'd be cool too.
I gotta say, I kind of feel like we've lost the thread of this podcast.
Like all of our podcasts?
Oh my god, this one got really far off base. How does... Yeah, anyway.
I'm sorry, I have ADD, you know this.
Anyway, I think we're good talking about the Escape From movies then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yep. So, this has been Not So Live from Asteroid G. I am Mike Finkelstein, Warden of the Prison of New York City.
I'm Adrian Barbeau.
Okay. I guess I'm going to be President Queen Bee then.
There you go. And President Queen, huh? That's a really fraught political situation in there. That's like the elected queen of, was it Amidala's planet?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Good Naboo.
Naboo! And we will see you next time.
Bye.